We have an incredible guest for you all today. The man that invented your childhood.
I created several Nickelodeon cartoons back in the early 2000s. One's called the Fairly OddParents. You guys ever heard of that show? That was that.
Absolutely.
And then I created a show called Danny Phantom.
How do you even put yourself in a position to pitch Nickelodeon?
It really was a matter of connections. Because if you can make these people's lives easier, they want to know who you are. Who's the guy over there who's doing all the stuff that we don't have to ask him to do?
You can go viral once, okay, by chance.
Anybody can do that.
But to do it consistently, there's a formula. Is there a formula to creating a great show?
There absolutely is. It's not the exact same formula all the time, but the elements are always there.
I always love talking to Christians that are successful, and especially from
maybe one will come in here someday. I got more satisfaction out of buying that person a car than buying myself a car. To see their eyes light up, to see the impossible come true for them. They've been praying for something like that, and you can make that happen.
You got all these blessings, and you're almost acting as a vessel to give that to others.
Yeah.
So Butch, if me and you died tomorrow, what would your last message to the younger generation be?
Wow.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the School of Hard Knocks podcast. I'm James, and I'm here with Jack and Josh, and we have an incredible guest for you all today, Mr. Butch Hartman, as I like to call the man that invented your childhood. Butch created not one, but two of the greatest childhood shows of all time, and I think probably 3 or 4 shows in total. How many shows in total?
Well, at Nickelodeon, there were 4
shows.
4 shows in total, yeah.
Those 2 shows that changed your life and changed everything for you.
Yeah.
What shows did you create for the people that don't know?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm glad to be here with 3 J's. It's easy to remember. Like, hey, J. You guys are all J's. That's good. I created several Nickelodeon cartoons back in the early 2000s. One's called the Fairly OddParents. You guys ever heard of that show? That was that.
Absolutely.
That show. And then I created a show called Danny Phantom, which came out right after Fairly OddParents. And then you guys might have been a little bit too old, but my third show was called Tough Puppy. It came out in the late 2000s. And then around 2014, I created a show called Bunsen is a Beast. And so those 4 shows on Nickelodeon. And yeah, that was a blast to do. And now I have my own company, my own animation production company now, and we're doing a bunch of other stuff now. So it's really a blast.
And if I'm not mistaken, you actually did some of the voice narration on some of those shows as well, right?
Well, I did. I can do voices for sure. But when I got my own show, I wanted to hire actually people that's all they do, professional stuff.
Yeah.
So I hired some of the best voice actors in the biz. And so they...
The reason why I asked is because before we get into the podcast, we need to confirm that it's really you and that it's your show. So we need to hear something.
Oh, wait. Okay. So I should do probably... Now, here's the thing. I don't do the voice of Mr. Crocker, but I can imitate the voice of Mr. Crocker.
We got to hear it.
It's like, well, let's see, water, wooden table. This can only be the work of Fairly OddParents. I mean, I can.
There you go.
I don't do that all the time, but I can imitate that guy. Carlos Alisraki is the originator of that voice. He's great.
I love it. Where I want to get things started off, and we'll unpack everything, is when you got the green light for the Fairly OddParents,
Yeah.
and you knew that, at the time, your idea was going to become such a global phenomenon. Like, what was that moment like when you first initially got that green light on this show? What was going through your mind? Let's go right back to that moment when you got the green light for your first big hit, the Fairly OddParents.
Yeah, man. Thank you. How old are you?
23.
20. You're only 23. He's only 23. And you're, what are you, like 23 and a half?
I'm 25.
25. So
Yeah.
old. And you?
27.
Great ages to be. I was about 35 when I got my green light for the Fairly OddParents. But prior to that, I'd worked in the animation industry for about 15 years, about 11 years actually. And I'm from Michigan originally, drew cartoons. See, when I grew up, all we had were 3 channels on TV. There was no internet. There was no way of really. I guess you could find out things obviously through books and magazines and the news and all that, but it was a lot harder to find out things. And so I didn't know where I was going to make a living. I thought, I want to do cartoons my whole life, but how am I going to do this? A kid in Michigan, how do you do that? How do you get into the television? How do you get in there? And so I knew there was a school in California called Cal Arts, which is an animation school. Ended up going to that school, and I just learned from the other students. I immersed myself in what I loved and got around all these people. And I thought I was good. I thought I was talented in my hometown. But it's almost like being a pro baseball or football player. You think you're good till you get into the major leagues, and everybody's unbelievably amazing. And so I really had to either decide, am I going to step up my game and stay, or am I going to go back home? So I got into the animation industry, and through many years of practice and different jobs, I ended up in Nickelodeon. Finally had an idea to sell. It was called the Fairly OddParents, but it was only one cartoon. They bought one cartoon from me. It was a short, the first episode. And so what you do is you pour all of your expertise you have at the time into that one story, that one episode. And fortunately, they liked it. And so it was in January of 2000, they said, we're going to make your show, not just one show, but 6 half hours.
Mm.
And at that point, you're like, 6 half hours, this is great. That means I'll be working for the next year. All you're worried about at that point is like a paycheck. You said global phenomenon. Nobody knows if it's going to be a phenomenon ever. You're just like, I'm going to get my show made. Let's just do this. I get to draw every day. Now, in my heart, I knew it was going to be good, but I knew I had to work really hard. I had to make funny characters that people wanted to watch, multiple episodes. I made the first 6 half hours, a very small crew of people, writing, drawing, all that stuff. And then you're kind of dependent at that time on the studio putting it out. There was no social media of any kind. I had no control over me. There was no extra advertising on my end that I could do. I had to make sure the network was airing it, putting it out, all that type of stuff. So, unfortunately, they did. And back then, the show did really well. We had a thing called ratings. Ever heard of ratings, TV ratings, that kind of stuff? I was making sure. I don't know if you guys knew that. But back then, a good show on Nickelodeon at the time would get like a 5 rating. Fairly OddParents was getting like 8s and 9s. We were getting like,
at the time, how many viewers would like a good show be doing, maybe per se?
yeah, like an 8 or 9 rating meant you were getting like maybe 10 million people watching your show at any time. So,
Are those live viewers or?
well, they were people like, what? It was really weird back then because they would like put the show out and then they would have to do an average of people that were watching. How many people subscribed to Nickelodeon and how many people were watching this particular show at this particular time. Out of all the people that have Nickelodeon, who was watching what at what time. It's all a way they averaged it out. And so not really privy to all of that information. But I would know that they would say, hey, your show's doing great. And they'd slide the numbers across to me. And you're like, great, we're going to make more. And so once they start ordering more episodes, instead of going, hey, we only want 6 half hours, now we want 10 half hours. Now we want 20 half hours. Now your time of employment is going up to 3, 4, 5 years. But now in order to turn that out, in order to hit that product demand, you have to like now hire more people. Now your crew is getting bigger. They're putting you on the network more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would beat SpongeBob all the time. I mean, SpongeBob was the #1 show. I always say SpongeBob was the Mickey Mouse. We were the Donald Duck. You know, but I'll take Donald Duck any day because Donald Duck's pretty popular, right? Donald Duck's popular, right, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Right. You guys have heard of Donald Duck, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's be very clear. Donald Duck.
I sound like him right now.
Let's be very clear. Donald Duck has made Disney billions over the years.
Absolutely. And it's weird because like Mickey Mouse has no shirt and pants, but Donald Duck has shirt, no pants. It's really weird how they hang out together, you would think. So, but we would do really well. We would, there was even times on the CNN little crawl at the bottom of the news, I guess all the extra news, it would say Fairly OddParents beat SpongeBob in the rating. We would get things like that all the time, which was really fun. But you're really just hoping the audience loves it. You're excited when they do. Then you start seeing demand. You know, we want to, yeah, Butch, can you give us a Christmas special? Can you give us a Halloween special? Can you give us a, you know, whatever? Can you add on to the show you're already doing? You know, can you do a movie for us? That type of stuff. So that's really exciting. And those opportunities don't come around all the time. You know, a lot of shows out there, but they don't get extra stuff made all the time. They get like 1, 2 seasons. That's it. But Fairly OddParents was very fortunate. We did about 18 years on Nickelodeon.
So I'm sorry, I know you got to go. I just had to ask this real quick.
Yeah.
How do you even put yourself in a position to pitch Nickelodeon? I mean, I know that you mentioned that you
Yeah.
started off working at the network,
Yeah.
but like a lot of people, especially in this, you know, you're in the idea business, right?
Yeah.
And eventually you hope to one day get something approved. You know, first, how do you even put yourself in a position to present to Nickelodeon the idea of a show? And then also, how competitive is that process?
Totally. Great question. It's like, you know, everyone thinks they can do a show or sell a product or, you know, get onto a sports team or whatever. But until you get that opportunity, until you're standing in the room with people, you know, you don't even know. So how do you get into that room? Well, my way was I went to college, like I said, the art school, and then I just started getting jobs in the animation industry, which is a whole process. You walk in, back in those days, you'd walk in with a portfolio, like a big book with all your drawings in it, sit at a desk like this, all the executives, and you're sitting there as they look through your artwork and like, is he talented enough for us to hire him? And fortunately for me, I got hired because I can actually draw a little bit. And so it's just the more you get job number 1, you meet this amount of people. You get job number 2, you meet more people. Really was a matter of connections. I would get different jobs, but every job I got, I made sure it was a different job. I didn't just do character design. I did backgrounds and I did props and I did storyboards and I made sure I could do every aspect of animation. So by the time I got Fairly OddParents, I was very well rounded in what my profession was. But then all along the way, I was meeting high level executives because you can make these people's lives easier. They want to know who you are. It's like, who's the guy who's making all this stuff? Who's the guy over there who's doing all the stuff that we don't have to ask him to do? He's making our lives easier. Who is he? Give him more stuff to do, right? Whether it was me or whether it's one of you or somebody else, don't be the guy who just shows up late, leaves early, and just wants to go party all day. If you want to really succeed in any job, in my case it was animation, get there early, stay late. What else can I do? How can I help? That type of stuff. And so I was just meeting people. So by the time Fairly OddParents rolled around, there was a producer at Hanna-Barbera where I worked, which became Cartoon Network at the time. There were shows over there being made, Johnny Bravo, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Lab, all that. I worked on Dexter's Lab and Johnny Bravo. And at that time, there was a producer at Hanna-Barbera named Fred Seibert. And Fred was leaving Hanna-Barbera, and he said, hey, I'm going to Nickelodeon. Do you want to come pitch me a show over there? And I said, no. And he goes, why not? And I said, well, I'm working on Johnny Bravo. I'm pretty loyal. The show's running. I can't just leave, right? And so he goes, okay, I'll tell you what. I love what you're doing. Call me if something changes. Okay. So 9 months go by working on Johnny Bravo. And then they told us Johnny Bravo was ending. Show's done. And that's really what happens in Hollywood. It's like, show's done. Bye. Good luck, everybody. And now you're like, well, I'm going to call Fred. So I called Fred. It's 9 months later now. Hey, Fred, I got this great idea. Do you have any slots left? He goes, I got one slot left over here. I go, it was Tuesday. I said, I'll see you Friday. Great. Click. I had no idea at all. I had nothing. And so I'm like, I got to come up with an idea. So I came up with this little boy. I drew this little boy. I named him Timmy because my brother's name is Timmy. And then I'm like, what can he do? I'm like, maybe he could do science. That'd be fun. Science is fun. But Dexter's Lab was already out. So I couldn't do a science show. That's another thing. Do your homework. Don't ever do something that's already been done if you can help it. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do magic. That's kind of fun. Magic's neat. So I thought, okay, does he have the magic power? No, what if he got a magic friend? So I drew like a magic friend. I drew Wanda. I drew the girl. I thought this would be kind of fun. Maybe
Wanda's sitting in the cups over there.
Wanda, the pink cups, exactly. But I'm like, maybe Wanda.
What's your ideation process like when you're bouncing out these ideas?
To be honest with you, at this time, I really needed a job. Sometimes jobs come out of desperation. I was like excited. My first daughter, I have two daughters. My first daughter was born. My second daughter was on the way. So I've got a little girl at home. My wife's pregnant. Johnny Bravo ended. I have no job. And I'm like, I'm needing a job right now. So I had to go like, okay, I got this idea. Timmy, Wanda. And then I thought, I've never seen a fairy godfather before. A fairy godmother, yeah, but I never had a fairy godfather. So I drew Cosmo, but I didn't know what to name him. Like, what do I name this guy? And Seinfeld had just released an episode where they revealed Kramer's first name, which is Cosmo Kramer. And I thought, Cosmo, that's a really funny name. So I wrote Cosmo down. And then I had Cosmo, Wanda, and Timmy. And he needs a bad guy. So that, what if he had an evil babysitter? And I called her Vicky because she's Icky with a V, right? Icky. And so I drew that. And it took like 15 minutes for the idea, the whole first couple drawings. And then I went home and I'd never written a script by myself before. I'd written scripts and stuff, but I'd never written a script by myself. I'm like, I gotta go home and write a script by myself. I don't want anybody else to be creating this. It's going to be me, sink or swim. It's me by myself. So I wrote a script that I thought was pretty decent. And then by Friday, I had an idea, and I took it into Fred, and he liked it. So we did the first episode, and then it kind of went on from there.
So when you're creating, and for context,
he sounds like Donald Duck. Did you notice that? I'm joking.
Yeah, for context for the audience, big Dodgers fan, was at Game 3, longest game in World Series history last night. So I was cheering my ass off. So
well done.
Yeah. But my question is, I've always been fascinated on the technical side of when you're creating the episodes for a show.
Yeah.
How does the drawing work in that sort of process? Like when you're like, are you drawing like several of the same images in a row and just kind of changing one thing to make it? How does the animation?
I'm not, but other people are. Yeah, I mean, but there are people in the world that are animators. Absolutely, that's how I started out. I was an animator. It's where you take drawing 1, drawing 2, drawing 3, drawing 4. It's like if you took a strip of film. If you and I were to film a movie, we filmed somebody jumping off a diving board. They'd be here, then they'd be here, up in the air. Then there was like several frames, they would jump off the diving board. Animation's the same way. You just got to draw it. You can't film something in real life. So, but in a cartoon, you can have them jump off the diving board and then get sucked back by a magnet or something like that, So, but yeah, you would do every drawing. But before you do the drawing, you got to do a character design, which is like casting a movie. For example, like when I drew Cosmo, I'm like, what does this guy look like? So I'll sit for a couple hours and draw. In this case, it was quick with Cosmo. I thought it was 15 minutes. But sometimes when I was working as an artist, they'd say, Butch, we got this brand new show. Read the script. You read the script because there's always a script. It's like a movie, TV show. James walks outside and he meets an ostrich. Okay, what's the ostrich look like? Right? So someone's got to draw the ostrich. Is he big? Is he small? So a guy like me would sit there for hours doing different ostriches, show them to the boss. And the boss goes, I like this ostrich. I like that guy. Put a hat on him or whatever. That's what the cartoon world is like. So yeah, then you do that. Then you got to get somebody to do the voices. You have to get actors that do the voices, right? So you got to hire these professional actors that come in and read your script that you've written. And then you go from there. So you kind of assemble it piece by piece, like a movie.
Every show has personalities. And I even look at some of the most successful YouTube channels of our time, and they create characters that all kind of play a specific role within the show itself. What goes into the thought process of how you're going to create the characters and the personalities behind them?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Like, for example, any show, for example, like do you have a favorite show on TV right now? Or a favorite cartoon?
Game of Thrones, I'd probably say.
Let's say you're doing a Game of Thrones script, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd write everybody's naked, number one. You'd write that down. No, I'm kidding. But Game of Thrones, you'd say, okay, what happens in this episode? And a Game of Thrones was like a soap opera in a way because they would have to, every episode continued from the previous episode, right? Mm-hmm. So when we last left Tyrion Lannister, he was hanging from a cliff and there was a dragon about to eat him, right? So what happens now? So we have to come, with point A, point B, point C, and you have to drag the audience through the narrative in an interesting way so they want to watch the next episode, right? You can't make it boring. That's the trick. That's what separates a good writer from a bad writer. It's all storytelling. What I do is just storytelling. I just do it through cartoons. But you'll have a room full of people like this sitting around going, okay, like if it's a sitcom, for example, we need an episode today. All right, what's the episode about? Well, like for Fairly OddParents, for example. Okay, well, it's always, what is Timmy's problem? Because Timmy's the star. What is Timmy's problem? Okay, well, we already wished for goats. We wish for refrigerators falling out of the sky. We wish for outer space adventures. What can we do? Hey, what if he hates getting haircuts? Because all little boys hate getting haircuts. That's cool. All right, what do we do? What if Timmy had indestructible hair? Nobody could cut his hair. Oh, that's funny. He could wish for indestructible. So what do we, that's, okay, great. Now what happens? Okay, well, maybe he's got indestructible hair. Maybe the hair gets so big, and maybe at first it's really cool and beautiful. People love it, but now it gets so long, it starts taking over the city. And then, it's like a giant octopus on his head. We actually did that episode, and it's called Hurricane. And so the only way to do it is Timmy's dad has to fly a helicopter through his hair because it's like Godzilla, and he has to cut his hair with a helicopter. And so, but that's a funny story you come up with in the room with everybody. And then what does Timmy say? What does Cosmo say? What does Wanda say? So you need funny people to write that stuff. And you got to find funny people, which is always a challenge as well.
So cartoons made you a millionaire.
Yes, sir.
It did.
It did, yeah. And I said, not easy to be a millionaire doing cartoons, but yeah, we absolutely did.
Did you have some people that thought that you were absolutely insane?
Yes.
Yes. When you said you were going to leave home and go make cartoons?
Well, I don't know if they thought I was insane. I think they wished me well, but no one in my family had ever done cartoons, ever, or art or anything. Everybody, I'm from Michigan.
Right.
Everybody worked in the auto industry or just, blue collar jobs. I mean, great people, but no one did entertainment,
So I would imagine, though, you had a lot of people, maybe even family members, friends that were maybe advising you to say, hey, what are you doing? It's are you serious?
A couple people maybe had some questions about it. But I was always kind of, I guess you would say I was always pretty headstrong. If I wanted to do something, I would do it. So they really didn't have any doubt in me, I don't think. They might have doubted what I was doing because they didn't understand it. How are you going to do this? First of all, no one in my family had ever left Michigan to do anything, let alone go into the TV industry and the movies. Yeah. What are you kidding? How do you even do that? And it's really tricky in the entertainment industry, unless you have somebody that's done it before, like any industry. It always helps to have an in, right? The day I got to California, I was 18 years old. I got off the plane with my bags, and I'd had a friend who left Michigan before me to meet me. He didn't meet me. He wasn't there. And this is 1983, so there's no cell phone, there's no nothing. So my plan B was to get on the shuttle to the school. I would have to get on the shuttle, I had to find at Los Angeles International Airport, I had to find the shuttle, got on the shuttle, and went to the school. But people thought, no one understood what I was doing. Even I kind of didn't understand it. I just knew that I wanted to do it. And I wasn't thinking money at all. I was just thinking, hey, this will be a blast.
And that's what I actually want to touch on real quick is I think everyone thinks when they look at successful people or these successful businesses, for example, they think that they always started with this grand vision.
Yeah.
But in reality, just like it's almost just like, hey, this seems like a cool idea, and I'm gonna put one foot in front of the other and figure it out. And the vision grows bigger over time. It doesn't start off with this grandiose vision. It oftentimes starts out with like, okay, how can I even just make a living doing this?
Well, like I said, with me, with Fairly OddParents, it was like I need a job.
Yeah.
But coming out to California originally was I'm going to go to college and maybe I'll get to work for Disney because Disney created CalArts, the school I went to. Walt Disney founded the school. So at the very least, I thought I'll work for Disney someday. And to this day, I've never worked for Disney. Isn't that funny? I've worked everywhere but Disney.
Was he somebody that inspired you, Walt Disney?
Walt Disney really inspired me. Absolutely, yeah. Walt Disney, many of the animators who worked for Walt Disney inspired me. A guy like Chuck Jones, who didn't work for Disney, but Chuck Jones created all your famous Bugs Bunny cartoons, Roadrunner, all that kind of stuff. I really looked up to those guys. I looked up to a lot of comic book artists too, but I never met any of these guys. And I never, rarely would you see like a TV special or something or see them in a magazine. But like, again, there was no internet back then, so you couldn't get stuff instantaneously. So I didn't come to California going, I'm going to make a show about fairies one day and make millions of dollars. But I did come going, I'm going to stay in this industry for as long as I can because I didn't know what else I was going to do. I mean, I don't know what else I would have done. Maybe I would have done music. I would have been a police officer. I don't know what I would have done. But fortunately, and it took a lot of perseverance, number one. I always say there's 3 P's. There's passion, patience, and persistence. Passion to do what you love, the patience to know it's going to take a while, but the persistence to keep going. You need to keep going because if you don't keep going, you're not going to get anything. I met so many people in the animation industry and the, being or actors or musicians. If the first thing doesn't take off, they give up. And that's really tragic sometimes.
Do you think that was the formula that separated you from other animators or anybody trying to get a show on television? That I guess basically what separated you from other people trying to get a show that ended up working your favor to take Fairly OddParents live?
I really think what separated me was probably just ambition. I mean, really ambition. I was a very ambitious guy, still am. And I'm not saying other people weren't ambitious. I just knew that I'm going to get this. I'm going to do this because number one, I know I can do it. Number two, the opportunity's there. And number three, if someone else gets it, then I'll have to try harder again. I'd rather do it now while it's right in front of me, What was a really cool moment in my career was when I was at Cartoon Network. Again, I worked at Hanna-Barbera, but then Cartoon Network or Ted Turner bought them and turned them into Cartoon Network. And then right after Cartoon Network was formed, Fred Seibert, my producer friend, he was running Cartoon Network. He said, he was a big producer there. He said, we're going to give all the artists in the studio a chance to pitch their own shows. Now, at the time, I'm just a regular artist in the building doing my props and my character designs and all that. But they said, you can make your own cartoon now. And I'm like, at first I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm scared. I don't really want to do that. But a friend of mine goes, hey, let's do that. And I went, I don't want to do that. No, it's too much. It's too hard. That's what I said. He goes, come on, you can jump on my cartoon. Come and help me pitch it. So he pitched his cartoon and it sold. I'm like, wow, that was easy. And the reason they bought it, they told me later, no one else had pitched anything. So they bought one.
Wait, which one was that?
Oh, it was a cartoon called Shake and Flick. It's just a 1-episode cartoon. Pretty fun, interesting cartoon. But did that cartoon and thought, well, that's kind of neat. Let's do another one. So we did another one. And we created another cartoon called Fish and Chip, which was about a shark and a lynx that work at a bomb squad. It was kind of fun. Another one-off, But then I started getting the taste for this going, I could really do. But then every cartoon you make, it's a story, it's characters, it's a whole new world, right? So what worlds am I creating? Like, think about it. Every movie you've ever seen that you really like, somebody created that world. Whether it's Avengers, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, whatever, somebody made that world. And there's certain rules for every world, But I moved from being just a cog in the machine to wanting to create the machine. And that at that time is what separated me a little bit, I think.
When I think about the Fairly OddParents, one of the most impressive things to me isn't just necessarily the fact that you created a global phenomenon, which it definitely became worldwide, but the longevity that you had
Yeah.
of you said 18 years, right?
Yeah.
When I think about
It's still running now, but we made new shows for 18 years.
wh-
Yeah.
which is absolutely insane. And I think that, in any business, right? Take fashion, for example, the average cycle of a hot brand is like 5 to 7 years. I would
Yeah.
imagine in television,
That's
it
a
may be
huge, long cycle for a clothing brand.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Unless you're Michael Jordan. you know?
Yeah, yeah. But I would imagine the same thing probably applies in the television business.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so, what was kind of your secret ingredient to that longevity? As I like to say in content creation, you constantly have to be an innovator in whatever niche that you're in.
Absolutely.
You hear all the time, especially in content, people hit plateaus and they stop growing. And anytime that I've ever hit a plateau or I've stopped growing month over month over month, like I get paralyzed by inaction. I get paralyzed by not growing. I'm always thinking about that thing to keep growing, to keep things, what were you doing? Maybe getting into year 5, 10, 15 to be like, let's keep this thing going. How are you continuing to kind of cast that vision and get bigger and bigger and bigger?
Great question, man. Really good question. But what's great about guys like you, especially you, because I've met you before already, you have a mind that you want to just keep going. You have a very ambitious, very entrepreneurial mind, which a lot of people don't have. And that's okay if you don't have that. But the ones that do are always dissatisfied unless they're doing something more, right? I was the same way. With Fairly OddParents, the ratings were going through the roof. The show was doing great. And after a while, they were like, after like 3 or 4 years, they were like, well, we're going to cancel your show. And I thought, cancel the show? It's doing great. Yeah, but Butch, we just do 3 or 4 years and, thanks anyway. I'd say, well, SpongeBob's still going. Like, well, SpongeBob's different. That's doing, that was doing things on a different level. And I think I had to learn how to play the game. I had to move from just being an artist to being a business person. I started talking to the execs more, started talking to the people that ran the studio more. Hey, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about this type of stuff. Let's negotiate a little bit. And so Fairly OddParents actually got canceled 5 times, and I made sure that it kept going each time. They had a wrap party for us. That's when you close the show down, you have a big party for everybody. We had 5 wrap parties for Fairly OddParents, and I kept saying it's not over yet. I'd let them think it was.
So what parties are those?
Like, it's called a wrap party. When you wrap up the show, you're done.
Okay.
So we're done. Everybody's done. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Great couple seasons. I'm like, no. I'd be at the wrap party going, no, we're going to keep going. Like that now. And sure enough, about 2 months later, they would call me. We really feel we want to keep going. I would pray a lot, man. I pray about everything. I'm a Christian guy, so I'd pray about everything. But I would be like, I know the show's going to keep going. The show has legs. When a show has legs, it means it can keep going. That show has legs. Yeah. But then I would say, what if we did a half-hour special? What if we added a character? What if Cosmowanda had a baby? What if we added a magic pet? That kind of stuff. So when you can add things to the show to make it more interesting for the powers that be, they tend to get a little more interested.
One of the most, I guess this was like a monumental memory in my childhood was when you did the collaboration between Fairly OddParents and Jimmy Neutron.
Oh yeah, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour.
What was the business move and decision and creativity behind that?
Good question. I get asked this at comic conventions all the time. Well, it was great because Jimmy Neutron was another show at Nickelodeon being created at the exact same time Fairly OddParents was going on.
And
so
you know the guy that created that show?
Oh yeah. It was the guy who created it lived in Ohio. I think it was Ohio or Illinois. But Steve Odekirk, the producer of the show, lived in California, so he'd be in the studio a lot.
The thing that fascinated me about that was that the animation styles are completely different.
Absolutely,
one's 2D, one's more
3D. Yeah, one was done by computer. Jimmy Neutron was done CG, computer graphics, and then Fairly OddParents was done hand-drawn digital. We would just do it that way. But at the time, for Jimmy Neutron, there weren't a lot of CG shows on TV. That was like 2003. There were CG shows, but not a lot. So Jimmy Neutron was out, and basically we were all in the same building. So we're walking around saying hi to each other. The writers of Jimmy Neutron are over here, and the writers for Fairly OddParents. One day we're all in the kitchen, having coffee or whatever, and we're like, wait a second, you've got a kid in your show named Jimmy who's 10, who does science. I've got a kid in my show named Timmy who's 10, who does magic. What are we, morons? We need to combine these shows. And so we're like, what can we do? Let's think about it. So we pitched the idea to the execs. They're like, we love that idea. And so and when you do a special, you got to make it special. That's what the whole word is, right? It can't just be an episode of the show. What can we do? Let's have them cross worlds. Let's have Timmy go into Jimmy's world, become 3D, and have Jimmy go into Timmy's world, become 2D. So we did that. And it's called the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. And it was the highest rated special of the whole year. Just did gangbuster numbers and made us all look great, right? So let's do another one, the network says. We did another one. We did 3 specials, Jimmy Timmy Power Hours, did 3 of them, and hope you guys saw them. I think they were pretty fun. Yeah, they were pretty fun.
What in the world is your creative process like? Because I'm here the last minute or so listening to you. Obviously, the thing I'm thinking about is you're coming up with. You think about young kids; their attention spans are so short.
Yeah.
They're so quick. You're having to make engaging, interesting,
Yep.
long content for years and years and
Yep.
years, episode after episode. You have to deliver. It's on you.
Yeah.
You're the man behind the show.
Yeah.
What's your creative process like? How are you coming up with all these ideas? It's fascinating to me,
Oh, it's
genuinely.
a great idea, bro. I mean, I wish I could say I had like a cauldron that was bubbling with magic potions in it or something. But quite honestly, if you love what you do, you're going to do it every day, sink or swim. A lot of us will say that we'll do what we love for free, and we really would. I mean, you love the Dodgers, right? You'd go, you would spend any amount of money to go see a Dodger game.
Oh, yeah.
Probably, right? You went to the World Series last night. I mean, but like, I would draw and create whether I was getting paid or not. It's nice that I get paid, don't get me wrong. But I just love creating stuff. And when you're on a deadline, when you're doing something under contract, when a network's paying you X amount of dollars to deliver 20 half hours in 18 months, you got to do it. You got to come up with the ideas. That's why you hire these creative people to come around you. It's not all just me. I'd like to say it was all me, but I've had incredible teams of writers, artists that have helped me. I've got to be the leader in many cases. But man, I love what I do. I'm like, hey, what's a cool idea? You're driving down the road, you see some funny billboard. That's funny. That'd be a cool idea. Someone pitched an idea once, it was a 1-sentence idea. Timmy goes to work with his dad. I went, Timmy goes to work with his dad. We never had gone to Timmy's dad's work. What is that like? And Timmy's dad's a pencil pusher. He always said, I'm a pencil pusher. So he works at a pencil factory. What's it called? Pencil Nexus. Okay, that's cool. Pencil Nexus. And they go there and it's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but it's all made of pencils, like that's pretty funny. So that's where an idea can spring out of, But having creative people around you, building the right team is important. But being the driving force has got to be on you every single day. Because think about it. How many... Like Elon Musk, I know he's got hundreds of creative people around him, but at the end of the day, he makes the calls, right? I mean, I'm not Elon Musk, but I'm a version of him in a way. It's like you want to be Elon Musk, but Elon Musk, there's a lot demanded of him. And so the other thing too about being successful, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, to whom much is given, much is required. Everybody wants the big house. They want the big car. They want the name on the door. But man, there's a lot that comes along with that. And some of us aren't ready for it. Some of us become ready. Some of us don't care about. If you care about your name on the door more than the product, it's never going to work. It's got to be the product first, and then all the other accolades or whatever will come. But it's got to be. End of the day, man. Long after I'm gone, the Fairly OddParents will still be aired. People will still be laughing. That's all. That's what I care about the most.
You just crazy. You said something that I honestly reflected on myself a little bit. Because I was wondering, I do a lot of like the back end business for like the School of Hard Knocks. I was like, why do I enjoy doing what I do so much?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that growing up, I'd always play like these strategy games on the computer, where I would build like economies at scale and I was like building up like almost like economies and like
the Sims game.
Yeah,
or something?
like Sims, exactly.
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just doing that, but in real life, within a business with people and resources. And I'm kind of curious though, is when we look at our channel and we say that going luck is you can go viral once, okay, by chance.
Anybody can do that.
But to do it consistently, there's a formula.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go into a show, like if we look at our videos, it starts off with a hook, and then there's education or entertainment, and then there's a closing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a formula to creating a great show?
Great question. There absolutely is. It's not the exact same formula all the time, but the elements are always there. You've got to have a great set of characters, number one, and a great concept. But the characters come first, concept second. Here's why. Like I could. Let's look at a show like The Office. You ever watch The Office?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you like The Office?
Yeah.
Yeah, funny. It's funny. Okay, calm down. It's fine. No, a lot of people like The Office. It's a very successful show. But my point about The Office is, The Office takes place in an office. It's like the most boring environment of all time. But the characters are really funny, right? So they create great characters. Star Wars, I truly believe, was such a success back in the 70s when it first came out, because not only was it a space adventure that was done really well, but the characters were great. Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, C-3PO, all that stuff, right? How many space movies have been made? Tons. How many can you name that were just awesome, right? Very few. More bad movies get made than good ones. You know why? Because everybody's throwing darts at the dartboard. right? But every once in a while, you got someone who's really good at darts, and they could throw it and hit the dart, hit the bullseye, right? So, and you might even have talented people that get more than one shot at the dartboard, but not every movie they make is great, you know. But if you even look at Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, he created a great character. That's not the high concept of that movie. He's a boxer, big deal. But he's such a great character. You want to follow. He's the underdog. Is Rocky going to win? You want him to win really bad, right? But is he going to, you don't know it. Well, everything's leading up to that big fight, right? So how do you construct that narrative? Basically, to answer your question, the formula is you got to follow a character from point A to point B, and he's got to succeed a little bit, then fail, then succeed ultimately at the end.
I just saw Samuel L. Jackson the other day, was asked like some of the best advice that he got throughout his career. And he talks about when Bruce Willis told him that you want to find one character that you can write out for your entire career to where it will never be a box office flop. In particular, with Sylvester Stallone, he had Rambo and Rocky, and then you have all these other guys that have 7 or 8 movies with the same character. It kind of reminds
Arnold
me of
Schwarzenegger's another one.
The Terminator,
all that
Absolutely.
stuff. Yeah, there's not too many of those lately. I mean, maybe there kind of are a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Hugh Jackman with Wolverine, maybe could be one
for sure.
Or like maybe Deadpool, I think something like that. But those characters are what people fall in love with, and they'll watch that character anywhere. So I really knew when we went into doing Fairly OddParents and Danny Phantom and my other shows, even if we're in a white background with no background at all, the people got to tune in to watch these characters. So the characters have to be strong.
So it's funny you say that. Is you can pair yourself along with a really strong character, or you can also put yourself in the wrong box, or maybe you get tired of that box. And I think someone that I think of that talks about this is Matthew McConaughey. And he talks about how he got sick of doing rom-coms. And so he even though people and companies were throwing him millions and millions of dollars for these roles, he was just like, look, I can't do it because I'm going to be stuck in this box. And so he literally stopped making movies for 2 years.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stop making movies for 2 years. Can't do these movies. I can't do rom-coms anymore. Yeah, but he stuck to his principle. He set a principle in his mind and stuck to it. And fortunately, it paid off for him. That's really great. But you're exactly right. I mean, you can, like Jim Carrey's another example, who did a lot of comedies at the beginning of his career, then decided to switch over to dramas. Right. I think a lot more of his comedies were successful than his drama. I could be wrong. I mean, don't nail me on that one. But I prefer myself. I'm really good at making fun comedic stuff. And I love doing that. And I love making it all the time.
Yeah.
And I love, will I do a dramatic cartoon someday? I'd love to. I'd love to do something like an anime-ish type of thing, or more of a serious kind of a feature film, How to Train Your Dragon, something like that. I could definitely do it. But right now, with running your own studio and stuff, it's like I'm looking at an array of different types of things now that we're doing. Not just the fun comedies for this age group, but now for this age group. That's also the thing you got to think of too. Everything you make, every story you tell is a product. It's who's it for though? Like, who is this for? That shirt, that jacket, who is that for? I mean, who is this for? Who's going to buy it? How many will they buy? It's like which item will go viral, right? Which one of these will go viral? Yeah. Like you were saying, anyone can get a viral video. Whether it's like, don't you love that on online? Like you'll shoot something for, I'll do a 10-second video of this. It'll get 4 million views. And then you do a whole video where you plan it, you write it, and nobody watches. You're like, really?
Sometimes it's the stuff you never expect.
Exactly. But then, again, when you can find that formula and that sweet spot, but it takes work. It takes, even with Fairly OddParents, the first couple of seasons, we really didn't know the characters as well. But fortunately, we were able to do multiple seasons where I could find the sweet spot of that character. He'll say this really funny. And then getting to know the voice actors too. The guy who does Cosmo will do this perfectly. The girl who does Wanda will nail that perfectly. Let's give her that line. So it's discovering all of that.
You not only did the Fairly OddParents, but you also created Danny Phantom. What was the thought process of wanting to start another show, and how did that one end up also becoming a success like Fairly OddParents?
Oh, thanks. What's funny about that one, that was an opportunity that showed up that I was ready for. Thank goodness.
And what are opportunities like to you?
They're like comets. COMETS. Opportunities are like comets, I always say, because they are really cool and beautiful, but they don't come around very often. And it might be a long time till you see another one, So I always say, seize that opportunity. But I was doing Fairly OddParents. I did like a year and a half. Fairly OddParents was doing great on Nickelodeon. The heads of Nickelodeon took me out to dinner. Let's go out to dinner. Okay. And it was a typical Hollywood thing. In Beverly Hills, went to this really nice restaurant, me and these two gentlemen. And they're like, we love Fairly OddParents. It's doing great. We want to pick up more. I'm like, oh, that's great. Thank you. That's wonderful. Do you have anything else? I'm like, now what would you say in that situation?
I feel like
Because the opportunity's
you have
right
to say
there.
yes.
Hey,
Yes.
hey,
You have
hey,
to say yes.
Sell it first and then figure it out.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Sell it
Well
first and then
said. You
figure it
guys are
out.
thinking.
Yep.
Fortunately, I already had something. I didn't have it. I wasn't making it up. I said, I do have something else. It's called Danny Phantom. And I thought of Danny Phantom. My mother lived in Las Vegas. I lived in LA. She wanted to move out to LA. So I went to Vegas, picked up my mom in a moving van, and I'm driving a moving van from Vegas to LA. It's like a 5-hour drive. And all along the way, I knew Nickelodeon was looking for a boys action show. I'm like, boys action show. It'd be kind of cool. I'm driving. And I'm like, what would be a cool boys action show? And if I could come up with a cool name, that would really help, right? Because I thought when I was a kid, I loved a show called Johnny Quest. You ever heard of Johnny Quest?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, super cool name. Johnny Quest. That's a great name. What would be a cool name like Quest? And I'm like, okay, Lightning. That's a cool name. Or like, Dynamite. That's cool. I thought, and I landed on the word Phantom. Phantom's really cool. So I'm going like Billy Phantom, Bobby Phantom. And I went, Danny Phantom. That sounds really cool. So by the time I got back to LA, I had this show idea called Danny Phantom. And I was going to make him like a Ghostbuster, like a Scooby-Doo type of thing. But then we decided to make him a superhero with like superpowers, like one of the Teen Titans or X-Men or something. And so that's what I pitched at that moment. At that dinner, I said, I got this thing called Danny Phantom. And he goes, great, let's make it. It was that quick. So now I'm making Fairly OddParents.
They just had so much conviction in you that they were like, we're ready to run.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because most of the time, and I've asked these guys this since, I go, did you buy the idea or buy me? They're like, we were buying you. You could have
Mhm.
said anything.
James, what do they always say? Credibility.
We're just talking about this. Credibility kills all bad attitudes.
Well said. Well
But-
said.
But if I'm not mistaken, with this show, like the execs that had approved it initially, they got wiped, and you had to kind of repitch it.
That's true. I mean, it's funny because I pitched a show to these guys. Let's make it. Let's do it. Awesome. And like 8 months later, those guys were gone out of Nickelodeon. They had moved on to other things. So the new people that came in, this happens in Hollywood all the time. New people came in. They wanted to kill everything that those guys had approved because they didn't want to get blamed for it if it failed. That's what happens in Hollywood. New execs will come in and wipe the slate because if a movie goes through that the previous regime created
Mhm.
and it bombs, everybody gets blamed, right? But fortunately, again, I prayed a lot about this one too. They kept Danny Phantom going because this new exec that came in really liked me as well. The credibility was still there. So they were like, make Danny Phantom. So now I've got 2 crews of people going. I got the Fairly OddParents crew, writing, drawing, voice acting, all that. And Danny Phantom, writing, drawing. So now I got 2 crews to deal with every single day. So I'm running 2 shows at a time. And so now it's like, how can Butch do all this? But I knew I could do it all because I was psyched to do it all. I was excited every day. And so that's just how that started.
I kind of have a little two-parter for you real quick.
Mhm.
Firstly, you mentioned earlier something that we preach a ton to fellow content creators and creatives, right? Is that you realized that you needed to learn the business side of the industry that you were in.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people, they're very creative, maybe
Yeah.
they know how to go viral, but they get taken advantage of when they go into a certain industry. What did you learn about navigating your way in your relationships with these big executives so that way you didn't get taken advantage of and that you understood your worth when you're going into these meetings, when you're getting taken out to dinner, and you made sure to maximize the amount of return that you got for all the work that you were putting in for
Amen.
them?
No, that's a very good question. Like one thing I realized in my prayer time, I was like, you know what? I really felt that the Lord was leading me to become more than just an artist because artists are amazing, right? Artists are great. They're talented. But at the end of the day, you can always find another artist. You can always find another person to draw this thing. You want this table built. Great. This guy built this table. You can find another person to build it, right? But who sells the table? Who owns the table business, right? What else are they making at the table business? So that's where, like the guy who runs Disney makes way more money than the person who's drawing for Disney. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kept going, how does that work? How does that work, right? How do I get to be? And it wasn't about making money so I could buy all this stuff. I didn't care about that. I wanted to like leave a legacy for my kids, people coming after me. I wanted to build more than just me, right? I wanted to leave something behind. The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. It's a great scripture, So I'm going, how can I get more out of this and maximize, like you said, how can I maximize my opportunity here? I've got to become a businessman. And so a lot of artists, a lot of creatives will put their headphones in and it's 9 o'clock, put the headphones in, they'll draw till lunchtime, headphones come out, they'll eat, Headphones go back in, and they'll just put their headphones in all day. I started taking my headphones out and meeting people. Hey, how's it going? Butch Hartman, nice to meet you. I'd go to the executive floor as opposed to, just staying on the artist floor or whatever. But just getting to know people. What opportunities are there? You guys looking for what? What other shows are there? And it ended up in result. And I got an agent. I got an agent and a lawyer that really helped me out. Because you get these contracts. Okay, you're going to make 20 shows in 18 months. Here you go. I could just sign it, but I might be signing my life away. I put my contracts in front of a lawyer and an agent who were like, oh, no, they got this wrong. No, we're going to ask for this. We're going to ask for this. So I got smart people around me. I got smart people around me who knew the contract world way better than I did. Mm-hmm. And you have meetings. And by the way, is it fun to have a contract meeting? Not all the time, because you are a creative guy. You want to be drawn. You don't want to talk about numbers, but you got to make yourself become more than what you are.
My favorite business concept that I love to learn about and see executed from different business owners and just people in different industries is this concept of vertical integration.
Yeah.
And I look at, a cartoon, we were talking about earlier how Donald Duck made Disney billions.
Yeah, it did.
Your shows made Nickelodeon a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, they did.
And so when you look at the cartoons, you've got licensing, you've got merchandise, you've got all these different things. Mm-hmm. What were all the different revenue streams that you made sure that you you're the brains behind it, but you made sure that, hey, I'm getting compensated here. I'm making sure that I'm not getting taken advantage of. I'm making sure that I'm getting all of these different verticals, all these different revenue streams are coming to me.
Well said. Very good. There's when I had this lawyer, I had several lawyers. One of my lawyers was like, okay, we're going to make sure you never get paid less than this. That was called a floor. We're going to put floors in your contract. I'm like, what's floors in my contract? Yeah. Let's say, there's a financial upheaval in the studio or whatever. They can never pay you less than this. And that really paid off at one point. Like they couldn't drop my salary. One of my lawyers said, you're locked for life on the show. Like, no matter what iteration of my stuff comes out, I get paid for it. That kind of stuff, right? So those little guarantees that are in there, and the percentages for, let's say merchandise, for example. Nowadays, you could never get a deal like I had. My deal was made 25 years ago. The deals now are like infinitesimal compared to the percentage. Now, I didn't get a huge percentage, but I got way more than they're given now, right?
Why is that?
Networks got smarter. Networks got wiser, I guess, or back then they didn't know what was going to hit. It's like, like when George Lucas sold Star Wars, the network, the movie company didn't think they was going to sell any toys at all. You can have all the toys, George. We don't care. So now George Lucas got all the toys, right? So that was a dumb mistake. So little lessons like that go a long way. So now it's like anything could be lightning in a bottle. We're going to make sure everybody, the studio gets the lion's share, because the studio's taking the risk. They pay you to develop your show and make your show. And if it's a flop, they lose. But if it's a hit, they get the lion's share of all the profit. And you definitely get a profit out of it, but not as much as the studio gets, because you sell the rights to them. These days, what I do is I don't sell my rights to anybody. I own the rights to everything, and I license things out.
Something that I love is that you said that you learned all the aspects of what goes into making a show. Because I'm a personal big believer in that you can't delegate things effectively unless you really know what kind of goes into them and what it actually requires. And so I'm kind of curious, you go from animator, show producer to actually, you're pretty much running multiple different shows at one time. Yeah. And they don't teach that in school of how to manage people. No. So did you have a mentor, or what did that process kind of look like to actually learn what it goes from just being a part of the show to actually running the show?
Really good question. Now, listen, I'm not perfect at all. I had to learn through the School of Hard Knocks, by the way. The actual expression, the School of Hard Knocks, you hit your head, you scrape your knee, you might say something wrong to somebody, you might make a wrong decision, but you learn along the way. I've always been kind of a people person where I enjoy working with people, but when you're a boss, it really changes the dynamic in the room. Like when the boss comes in, everybody stops. Like, everybody, because you're no longer one of them. You've sort of become on this different. When you can hire and fire people, they get intimidated by you, and you don't really expect that at first. You're like, hey, it's just me. It's the same guy we used to hang out together, right? And so that changes. Hiring your friends changes, right? It's like, hey, I'm your friend. You're going to hire me? But now I know this friend, and I know this friend doesn't work very hard. So if I don't hire them, they're not my friend. But I made the mistake of sometimes hiring friends, and then they would, of course, do what I thought. They would not do their work, and then now I've got to let them go. Now we're really not friends, right? So There's very hard decisions in there. But I really knew that I had to step up my game or else I would lose this opportunity. I've got to learn how to manage people. I've got to put my pencil down and handle this HR meeting. I've got to deal, one person has an issue, I've got to deal with it or whatever. But I've got other creatives that can handle this. I don't need to be the one on the doing the work all the time. My wife and I hired a coach a couple of years ago, and he drew a line on a whiteboard. It was a battlefield, and he put these little dots like soldiers. But then he drew a control tower in the middle of the battlefield, like an observation tower, and he put my wife and I in the observation tower. He goes, "You guys are in the observation tower. You're commanding the battle, but your problem is you're getting out of the observation tower and coming down on the battlefield all the time. You're trying to help all the time, right?" And I kept going, man, because that's why I'm exhausted. I'm down on the battlefield all the time.
That is such a good analogy.
I like
Isn't
that.
that cool?
I like that.
And I need to be in the observation tower, staying healthy.
Hey, we're keeping that one.
That one's going in the bank for sure.
Hey, Butch Hartman's observation tower. Man. I'm always go back to that one.
That's cool though, isn't it? It was a great
I love
observation. And then he wrote. Then my coach drew on the board. He drew a line. And he put my age on the first part of the line. Then he put the number 80. And he goes, "So here's you now, and here's 80. What are we celebrating when you're 80? What do we celebrate?
End of life.
We're sitting at a table like this. Yeah. We're all raising a glass. We're cheering. You know, it's what have we done between now and age 80? Right now, I was like 58 at this time. I'm 60 years old now, but like I got 20 years till I'm 80. You guys have a lot longer, more time than I do. But like for the next 20 years." And even back then, I kind of had this mindset. When I'm 75, 80 years old, what am I thinking? What am I celebrating? You know, and that's your goal. That should be your goal, your time frame. That's, you know, on your tombstone, you have your birth date and your death date, and there's a dash in the middle, and that's your life. The dash is your life. So what have you done with your dash? You know, did you want to do something your whole life, or did you actually give it a try? You know, or did you try it? Mm-hmm. Look what you guys are doing. I love what you guys are doing because this is doing really great. And I cannot wait 10, 20 years from now to see where you guys take this. It's going to be so exciting. Have me on when I'm 80, will you? Okay, I'll be
Absolutely.
back.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be back.
100%.
I'll be back. Well, I'll be robots by then.
20-year anniversary of this podcast.
That's a 20-year anniversary. Have me back. But we'll show this clip, and then you can have me on. But I mean, by the way, you guys could be doing that, or you could have the other millions of things you're going to be doing between now and that time is going to be so cool to see. Because you guys are all entrepreneurs, which is great. Yeah. But I meet so many people that aren't. You know, but they say they want to be. So it's tragic sometimes when I see people that really have a lot of potential, that they're too fearful to exercise it, or they're too, you know, they don't think they have it in them. You know, too intimidated sometimes.
Josh brought up running teams, but Raina, you have your own studio.
Yeah,
and so you obviously come from the other side of like, hey, I'm pitching shows, I'm running the show, I'm creating it, and then now with the studio. Do you have other people pitching you shows? What is that like? Because you're coming from you're coming from both perspectives, not just like, oh, I'm an executive and I'm going to look at these shows. You're coming from the perspective of like, I was on the other side of the table.
Yeah, for sure.
What is that like?
Yeah, that's very good. You know, I used to be an actor and I would audition for parts where I'd come in, audition, thank you, come into a room like this, thank you very much, and you'd leave, right? I'm like, well, I want to be at the table with those guys. I don't want to be an actor because, again, I could always find another actor. You can't always find another production, right? So people pitching me shows now is quite interesting. But I can handle it now because I know exactly what to expect. But again, you don't ever take it personally. If you're the person pitching and someone says no, it's really hard, but don't take it personally because it's not what they're looking for right now. Yeah, as an actor too, it's just you come in, you do a great job, you can do the part, but you know what? They wanted a blonde person. Because the other actor has dark hair. It comes down to something simple like that. So when somebody pitches me a show, I look just like those guys looked at me all those years ago. I look at the person. I go, can I trust this person with $1 million? Can I trust this person with $5 million? Can I trust them to run this show and deliver me a product that I can use later on down the road? Right? What's the person done? I just met a young man recently, about 29 years old. This guy's going places. He's very talented, very humble. Already, he's got investors for his project. He's already started the ball rolling, and it's like, wow, you did that before you even met me. That's great. I mean, you can trust. I'm saying trust, but he looks like he's a good bet. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot of experience there already.
It reminds me of that concept that no doesn't mean no. It just means not yet.
Well said. Yeah, it's true.
I want to shift gears a little bit. One of my favorite answers I've ever received in an interview was when you were kind of talking about finding your fulfillment when you were in Hollywood. And you said to me that I stopped answering to Hollywood and started answering to Jesus.
Yeah.
How important has your belief in God, your belief in Jesus played a role into your life? And I want to talk about that for a little bit.
Oh, thanks, man. No, that plays everything. It plays every role in my life because prior to me accepting Jesus, I was just me. It was just my own decisions, my own heart, my own thoughts and experiences. And I was a very limited person. We all are. Like, I was like when Fairly OddParents got picked up, I was 35. I had all the experience of a 35-year-old man, and believe me, at that time, I didn't know anything. I still don't know everything, and I never will. I'm never perfect. But with Christ in my life, I realized that I had to die to myself. Like Jesus is all about dying to yourself and helping others. It really truly is that way because at first it was all about me, 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 me. What can I get from me? And that you run out of gas with that really quickly. You can only get so much for yourself. But when you start giving out and you start at least thinking about other people, praying for other people, helping other people, all that stuff, that really makes a change in your heart. Jesus isn't after your money, he's after your heart. Because I got news for everybody. When you leave this earth, all the money stays here. It all stays here. And who's going to get, there's even a lot of scriptures in the Bible that talk about who's going to get what you leave behind. Someone's going to get it. Someone's going to deal with it. You know what I mean? A lot of these people you interview, I see them, I'm like, man, and I hear their words and I hear their attitudes and I'm like, yay, they made all the money, but where's it going after they leave here? What have they done with it? Now, maybe they've done great things. Hopefully they have. But the Bible says, build up for yourself treasures in heaven, and those treasures are people. There's all the treasure in the world up in heaven. They don't need treasure up there. They need people. They need the right hearts up there. And you guys got to ask yourself this too. Do you want to have somebody on your team with a ton of money? Oh, yeah, that would help. Or would it be better if they had a ton of money and the right heart behind it? Wouldn't that be better?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. So so Christ really changed my heart. That's what really happened.
Well, one of the probably lowest points of my life ever, I remember I was a junior in college at the University of Texas.
Like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah, not too long ago. And I had never really dealt with like anxiety before.
Yeah.
But I was kind of dealing with it like a lot.
Sure.
To the point where I was just, my mind just could not stop racing, to the point where like I was literally, I went like at 11 o'clock at night to the University Catholic Center, which is like the Catholic church. I just remember walking from
like the chapel or something.
Yeah, from my like apartment, because we were born and raised Catholic. I mean, I feel like as I've gotten older, I definitely, growing up in the Catholic church, I'd like go in there just because I was, born or baptized, confirmed. But I would say now I go to a little bit more of like a non-denominational church, more kind of just Christian church.
Yeah.
But I remember just going there just because like I just felt comfortable there and was just trying to have conversations with God and just talk to God and everything. And what that anxiety I realized stemmed from was just, I kept having this perpetual thought that was, why the hell do people like work their asses off all for one day? Like, it's just going to be over.
Yeah.
I was going to college. We were probably growing the channel. We were probably super, super small compared to where we are now. But I just kept having that thought, and I couldn't avoid it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing my schoolwork. I'm doing my business stuff.
Mhm.
But it's all going to be over one day. And to
Yeah.
me, where I really found the fulfillment and comfort was knowing that you just have to live for something bigger than you, and that even though your time here is temporary, your eternal life, your life after earth is actually going to be with God. And that's what does last forever.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was kind of something that really found that fulfillment for me. For you, when did you have a moment when you were kind of like in Hollywood, when you kind of faced that similar, sort of thing where you were constantly just like waiting on the phone to pick up, dealing with all these different business
Mhm.
executives?
Mhm.
Could you tell us a story maybe when you kind of dealt with that?
Oh man, it's so funny because I'm so much older than you guys. I've had so many more moments where that can happen. Let me ask you this: if you were fearful every day and had no way out of it, wouldn't that be kind of a terrible thing?
Horrible.
Horrible thing. Be a terrible thing. That's why people do deal with anxiety. All fear is negative belief. It's negative faith. There's faith, which means you're hopeful something's going to happen, but fear is like you're terrified something's going to happen. You're believing in something negative that might happen, and it hasn't happened yet. It's like fear of flying. The plane might crash. Well, that's true, but maybe it won't. Most of the time, it won't, right? So it's all how you look at things. For me, I never wanted to go to church ever, but there was always that pull in my heart. And it's not even about going to church. It was about getting a relationship with Jesus for me. My wife started going to church before I did. We had 2 little girls. See, I was raised in a very chaotic home. I was raised in a home where, kind of a broken home. My parents got divorced. I have 3 younger brothers, and my dad and mom were divorced. There was always a lot of chaos in my house. And so I grew up in a house where everything was kind of exploding all the time, right? There's just problems all the time. And my wife was raised the same way. And so now we got 2 people that are married, and we were survivors, basically. So you got 2 survivors, and it's either my way or my way. How are we going to reconcile that, right? Well, we got to open ourselves up and agree to come together as opposed to being like this. I can't be separate from you all the time. Why am I even married to you in the first place, right? If you want to get into business with somebody, you got to be willing to open up your heart and accept that person, amen? And you have to realize that acceptance means compromising yourself. It means changing your heart. It's like, well, I'm not going to talk to that person. Well, why not? Well, they offended me. Okay, how long is this going to go on? One of you's got to break, right? And then what prevents us from breaking? It's pride. Pride is like, I'm not talking to them. But what if you could change the rules a little bit? What if you could be the one that says, hey, let's talk, and break the wall down a little bit, right? That's going to soften your heart, and it's going to blow the other person's mind. And now their heart's going to soften too. Christ is all about softening people's hearts. That's what he was about. He showed up under a rule system that had been in place for thousands of years, and they weren't going to break those rules. But he came in going, all those rules you're following, you guys have kind of gone nuts on the rules. You're straining out a gnat to swallow a camel, he says. Meaning you're looking at this little small thing, and you can't see the big thing that God has for you, right? Let's get rid of the little small nitpicky stuff and start loving each other. And they couldn't handle that because it wasn't about them anymore. It was about others. But Christ is all about others. So I did my best as a leader to treat people the way Christ would. I wasn't perfect at all the whole time. Believe me, nobody is. But I would try and approach every situation like, what do I do about this? What can I pray about? Who can I pray for? Fairly OddParents got canceled 5 times. I'm praying this back in. There's a scripture that says, Mark 11:24, whatever things you ask for when you pray, you believe you receive them, and you'll have them. I thought, hey, if I believe this, if I pray about it, I'm going to get it back. And it would always come back. Well, Butch, it doesn't happen because you pray. Well, I'd hate to see what happened if I didn't pray, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, I could have been in fear the whole time. They're canceling the show. Could have gone right into the depths of the abyss. Could have gotten full of fear, totally scared, lost my hair, chewed my nails off, right? Taken tons of drugs and pills or whatever. But I thought, I'm just going to give this to the Lord. The Bible says, cast all your cares on me in 1 Peter 5:7, and I'm going to do that, you know? So people handle things in different ways. I don't ever want to like hit somebody over the head and say, you got to do it this way. But for me, this is what works for me.
But you were in Hollywood, Butch, and the entertainment business in Hollywood, they don't, a lot of that part of that industry,
Yeah.
They're not super receptive to people talking about their faith and that being a big part of them.
Why is that, do you think?
Maybe because it's partially from some of the people that it's run by.
Yeah, well, here's why. That's a very good answer. But Hollywood's all about what?
Me.
Yeah.
Me, right? What is Jesus all about? Everybody else. So Hollywood's all about the self, and Jesus is all about the non-self. He says in Matthew, the book of Matthew, if you want to follow me, deny yourself and follow me, right? You gotta come last, because if you don't follow me, by the way, Jesus doesn't have an ego. He doesn't want you to follow him because he's an egomaniac like a movie star would be or like a politician would be. He wants you to follow him because he knows that's what's best for you. You guys have parents, I'm assuming, right? Growing up, please listen to me. I'm your dad. I know best for you. I went down that road. I know what mistakes there are, right? Listen to me. Your dad's imploring you to listen to him. Maybe you don't listen to him and you fall into a hole because he told you not to go down there or whatever, right? But your dad's not doing it because he has an ego. Your dad's doing it to protect you. Jesus is doing it to protect you. Hey, Butch, don't go to that party. Why not? There's a lot of weird things at that party. Don't go there. Everybody else is going. Yeah, but everybody else is going to wake up the next day and regret that they went. That kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? So there's those moments in your heart. You need to realize, like, God's got a better plan for me, right? I'll stay home tonight and I'll make up another show that I'll sell next week or something like that, rather than go hang out and party. I'm not trying to condemn anybody for doing that, but that was just my mindset.
Whenever you were questioning your faith, though, not just in God, but I want to ask you, how did you know Jesus was real?
I knew he was real because I started, like you were saying, what am I doing this for? What am I doing all this for? Is just there's a limitation on everything we have in the world. Everything's temporary. This table's going to dissolve someday. My body's going to run out of gas someday. Everything you see around you is temporary. It does not have, it has an expiration date, right? But Jesus does not have an expiration date. The Bible says he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. The last word is forever. He's the same. If it said he's the same yesterday, today, and until 2071, doesn't say that. He's the yesterday, today, and forever. And that's where faith comes in, is believing that he's real, right? I do believe he's real because there were so many eyewitnesses that saw him die, that were there, that witnessed all the miracles that he did. And they went to their deaths knowing that it was true. They had a chance to say these guys were all about to be killed, and they had a chance to repent and say it's not true to save their own lives, but they still got killed because they believed it was true. I'm not going to lie about this. I know this is true. So I know that he's true. I've seen evidence of it in my life. I've seen evidence of it in my job, in my heart, in my finances. I've seen miracles in my life. I've seen so many things, and I live my life by this now. And I want other people to know about it too. And by the way, it's their choice to believe or not. I would never force it on anybody. You can't.
I always love talking to, Christians that are successful, and especially from
maybe one will come in here someday.
especially from a financial perspective.
Yeah.
Because in Mark, there's a parable about Jesus talks about the rich man, where basically
the rich young ruler.
The rich young ruler,
that one,
and
yeah.
he won't, I forget the phrase.
The rich young ruler is a young rich guy. Let's imagine like a young musician or something like that in today's world, comes up to Jesus and goes, "I love what you're doing. How can I have what you have?" And what do you think Jesus says to him? Jesus says, "Awesome. Sell everything you have and then follow me." And the guy has a choice to make. And the guy says, and the Bible says he went away sorrowful, for he had many possessions. His possessions meant more to him than what the Lord had for him. I would ask you guys, what's more important to you? Your eternal, the rest of eternity, or the couple $1 million worth of things that you have right now, the perishable things that you have?
It's not a question.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. It's not a question, yet so many people don't see it that way. It's all about the possessions. That's all I care about. All I care about is how much more I can get. Because think about it. What are you going to be, Scrooge McDuck, and dive into a pile of money and swim around in it? I mean, how much money can you have? Yes, having a lot of money is great. But having it, the Bible says, to be a blessing. You're blessed to be a blessing. You need to bless other people with your finances. I always ask people too. I teach Christians this all the time. I have a book called Christian Creativity about how Christians can make money in the marketplace. I'm like, don't you want to buy somebody a car or pay somebody's rent or buy them a house? Wouldn't that be kind of cool to do? My wife and I bought tons of cars for people. I don't say this to brag. I just say it because the Lord made it possible. I got more satisfaction out of buying that person a car than buying myself a car. To see their eyes light up, to see the impossible come true for them. They've been praying for something like that, and you can make that happen. That's what it's about for me.
It's basically that, you got all these blessings, and you're almost acting as a vessel to give that to others.
Yeah. Well, I am a vessel because you're a vessel too. And so are you. And so are you. Whatever the world, you're going to have two things pour into you. The world's going to pour into you, or Jesus is going to pour into you, or something else is going to pour into you, right? If I were to fill this up with other substances, just name something, it would really change your attitude about what you're going to drink out of, right? If I fill this full of gasoline, I wouldn't touch it to drink out of it, right? But
why not?
Yeah, I would. But but whatever. If this bottle is you, what are you putting into this, right? I guess start dropping little drops of ink in there, and sooner or later, all this dark stuff is going to get in there and fill this bottle. It'll be totally black. But then I could reverse the process. I could begin filling it with more water, and eventually that black would go away, and then would become clear again. Right. So during our whole lives, stuff is going in, it's going in, and it's filling it up. But what are you putting in there? Like, I wanted my kids to be raised in a home that was free of chaos. And that's why I talked about my home. So my friend said, "You should go to church." And I went, "Go to church? What, are you kidding?" But I looked at my two little girls. I'm like, I'd rather at least try and have a house of peace than have a chaos like I grew up in. So I started going to this church. Then you got to find the right church. Which church do I go to, right? So my wife and I found this great church. It started really pointing us right to these scriptures, like, scriptures like, love your neighbor as yourself. What? Do you guys love yourselves? Of course you do. You have your own best interest at heart all the time. What if I love that guy just as much as I love me? How's that work? right? What if I wanted to go up and give that guy some money or go up and pray for that guy or go up and help him in some way? I mean, a lot of people don't even think that way. I didn't think that way until I did, until the Lord changed my heart. My heart. That's all about the heart.
I'm curious. You said that you and your wife come from kind of chaotic backgrounds in
Yeah.
terms of how you were raised, and now you're a father, married. How are you raising your children differently from how you were raised, and what are those things that you're teaching them that you wish you were taught as a kid?
Oh, good question. My girls I have 2 girls. They're grown now. I have a granddaughter now, which is kind of crazy. She's 9 months old. I have 2 daughters. They're both in their my oldest daughter's 30. My youngest daughter's 27. My wife and I have been married 33 years. We both got saved and found Christ at the same time, my wife and I. So we got to grow at the same time, which was cool. We had nothing to unlearn, thank goodness. We got to just learn about the Christian life. But the way I raised my daughters differently in Hollywood was I kind of kept them away from whatever I thought was a bad influence. I didn't let them go to parties just to be popular. I didn't let them date until a certain age, things like that. And to be honest with you, the rule was you can have a boyfriend when you're 16 years old. And so here's 16 coming up. I'm like, oh boy, this boyfriend, but you know what's funny? They never had a boyfriend until they were like, my daughter got married, never having a boyfriend. Wow. My oldest daughter.
Just like his siblings. All of his siblings are the exact same way.
Yeah, and again, the rule. But I told my daughters, here's the deal with getting a boyfriend. You're either going to break up with him or marry him. Those are the only 2 choices. You're going to date him till you marry him, or you're going to break up. So just understand that. Don't date around like I did. You don't want to do that. That's stupid. That just breaks hearts. That's why if you believe in Christ, you got to believe in the enemy, the devil. He's out to tear families apart, right? Because I come from a broken home. It sucked in many ways, right? I mean, are you able to survive? Absolutely. Is it the best? No. It's like if I cut my hand off, can I survive? Yeah. Is it the best? No, right? When a family's torn apart, hearts are broken. Hearts are changed. Hearts are damaged, right? In fact, my wife and I are pastors now. We deal with people with broken hearts all the time. You're dealing with them like you're talking to, people have had a broken childhood, they've had a broken marriage, broken relationships, and they're just sad and they're broken. And as a pastor, you're trying to fix that. You're asking the Lord to fix it. And the only way to fix it is for those people to, number one, to forgive. That's a hard one, forgiving. Right? That's another way. I taught my daughters how to forgive. I taught myself how to forgive. I had a lot of anger about a lot of things. Anybody from a broken home would. And I was like, I got to forgive. I got to forgive. Otherwise, when you don't forgive, it's like drinking poison, hoping the other person dies. I want you to die, but I'm going to drink the poison over here. Right? And so that's what bitterness and resentment and offense will do. So,
Butch, we like to end these podcasts off with 2 questions.
We're ending?
Yeah.
You guys, okay. Wait, did I bore you? Did you guys get anything out of this at all?
This is great.
Did the whole audience,
Awesome.
did you guys get anything out of this? Okay, I hope I didn't bore anybody.
This is hands down one of my favorite conversations I've ever had.
Until Tom Cruise comes in. This has been my favorite one, Tom.
No. On all aspects.
I get it though. Tom Cruise is awesome, man. I would love to meet that guy.
Oh, you will. Next time we link with him.
Is he taller than I am? He must be way tall. He's super tall.
You're not. But anyways, Butch, if me and you die, how old are you now?
I'm 60 years old.
You look amazing for 60.
Thank you, bro. It's the lighting in here. Thanks for bringing the good lights in.
So, Butch, if me and you died tomorrow,
yep,
what would your last message to the younger generation be?
Wow. My last message to you guys would be, please don't be afraid. There are so many opportunities out there, and if you're afraid, if you let fear rule your life, you're going to miss out on what God has for you. God has so many amazing things for you. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Will it be challenging? Absolutely. Will you have doubts? Of course you will. But if you trust the Lord, He's got your best interest at heart. It's like my little granddaughter. She can't walk yet, but she's learning. When she takes that first step and falls on her knees, do I get mad at her? No, because I know she's learning, right? I know she's going to take that second step. I mean, she's going to, pretty soon it'll be second nature. Won't even think about it. When you take that first step into your destiny, you're going to not be great at it at first, but it's going to become second nature to you. So take that first step. Don't be afraid.
I love that. And
watch Fairly OddParents. That's why I would add that last part.
Let's go.
And you got another show that just came out, right?
Yeah, it's called The Garden Cartoon. It teaches kids about the Bible. You can find it at gardencartoon.com. Check it out.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you, buddy.
I guess our last question for you, Butch, when it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
Wow. I want to be remembered as a guy who gave his all so that other people could have a better life, I guess. I can't reach everybody, but the few people I can reach, I just want to make sure that I made their lives better, maybe made them laugh, made them feel good. I want to make people feel better than they felt before they met me. Put it that way. I hope that's deep enough.
Yeah.
I really want to. That's something super profound.
And the guy that invented their childhood.
The guy that invented your childhood. That's really cool. When people say that to me at comic conventions and stuff, I never made that up. They're like, I swear to you, at comic conventions, every other person says you made my childhood. I'm like, man, that means the world to me. I never get tired of hearing that.
I love that, Butch. Well, this was absolutely amazing. For everybody watching right now, guys, be sure to like and subscribe for amazing content we've got coming every week. Because every week we're bringing you guys the most incredible business owners, creators in all industries directly to you all for them to give you their best advice to become successful, just like them in today's world. We're gonna put the links down to your socials for everybody to follow along with you.
Thank you.
Butch Hartman across all platforms.
Butch Hartman, yeah. Actually, on X, I'm Fairly Odd Father, but I don't go on X very much. But it's Butch Hartman on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
And where can everybody check out the studio? That way, when it comes time when we have a cartoon to pitch you, we know where to go.
Dude, yeah, it's just called Butch Hartman Studios. Really easy to remember.
Butch Hartman Studios. Yeah. Everybody else watching, guys, do yourself a massive favor. Let's take action right now. Go down to the link in the description of this video. We put the link in there to join the #1 most powerful entrepreneur community and network for entrepreneurs in the world. We've got 7,000 like-minded entrepreneurs in there that get to hop on live calls every week with the millionaires and the billionaires that we interview on this channel. So we can't wait to see you on the inside. With that being said, we'll see you in the next episode.